Where do I start with this? I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start with an audio clip from the 3rd video in the sequence, just so you can hear the general tone and frame with which, Peterson is sort of operating within. We've said this before, it's the whole negotiate, with your spouse, partner, wife, whatever, and, it really just boils down to trying to build a better beta, but a lot of what he's talking about relies on both parties taking accountability, which I'll get into some of this stuff with all my notes over here, but I kinda wanna start this with just this audio intro because he says something that's pretty powerful. And he starts the 3rd sequence of the videos with, what you're sacrificing to get married. So let me just play this. I can't play the whole thing or react to the whole thing clip by clip because that would, infringe on, their IP and all that sort of stuff. So I'm gonna play this quick little clip. It's like 20 seconds. And there's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 very powerful words that he says in this intro that I want you to hear in his voice before I get into my reaction to all the material. So let's get started with that. Hopefully you can hear this.
And then you think, well, what are you sacrificing to get married? Well, let's think about it. What are you sacrificing? Foolish, juvenile, short sighted, hedonistic, nihilist, cynical, psychopathic, impulsive promiscuity. That's what you're sacrificing. It's like, hey, you might want to sacrifice that because that sounds like a pretty decent collection of demons. And you probably don't want that cluttering up your life. It's what you're going to be.
All right. So there's your little intro. So those words again were when you're sacrificing marriage, avoiding it, specifically. You're foolish, juvenile, short-sighted, hedonistic, nihilistic, cynical, psychopathic, impulsive, and promiscuous. And he says those are demons, so why not get married instead? Because that would be far better off for you. And I got a few things to say about that. Guys, if you're just joining the podcast, do me a solid, and yeah, I'm going to put the link to YouTube on the general chat. Facebook, Twitter, Twatches, whatever. Do me a solid, click that link, head over to YouTube and hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. So, all right, man, I got so many notes in this. There's a lot of disparaging words that he's using to describe men that don't get married. I don't get the impression he's talking to women specifically with this, although he does appear to be speaking to both parties when it comes to the sense of negotiating and working with one another. So here we go. One of the big problems that I find with almost everything in this 3-part series, and there was some good stuff, so I'm going to say that, is that it relies on both parties taking responsibility and wanting to do the work. And there's some flaws with that, which I'll get into in a little bit, but I don't think it's entirely realistic in the world that we live in today. Says marriage grows you up. You become an adult when you get married in the series. He says you're not mature until somebody else matters more than you, meaning your kids. And by the way, guys, you don't need to get married to have kids. There's plenty of people that have children that don't invite the state into their life or live in a way where the state would look at their relationship as a marriage, or move to places where the state can't control their life in the way that it does in the West. Canada, certain states in the US, for example, the UK and stuff like that. So some of the major flaws, which I bullet pointed here, is he assumes women will take accountability the way that men do. He says, if she cheats in the relationship, recovery is based on your ability to negotiate, which, I mean, look, when men go outside of the relationship, they cheat. When women go outside of the relationship, they betray. It's two different things. And I've covered that before in other videos. I'm sure you guys are familiar with that. One of the things that he admits, and I'm going to quote and end quote this, he stated, a difficult custody, again, this is in quotes, a difficult custody battle is equivalent to a near fatal bout with cancer, end quote. Now, he's advocating for marriage. He's saying, let's build a better beta. You guys can negotiate and figure it out. You're not a man until you have children. He said, if you're not married by the time you're 40, you're a creep. Those are, his exact words. But then he also admits in another breath that custody battles are the equivalent of near fatal bouts with cancer. And 50% of the time people get married after about 7 to 10 years. So you've got a 50% chance of basically having a fatal bout with cancer. I mean, he acknowledges that reality at least. The problem that I have with the entire series, he offers no real risk mitigation techniques that I talk about in the chapter in my book. Again, my book, do I have it over here? Yeah. If you guys haven't got it, the Unplugged Alpha is on Amazon in print, Kindle, and Audible. I narrate it myself. And one of the longer chapters in my book, chapter 15, is titled Why Smart Men Avoid Marriage. I'm going to get into some of this stuff in response to his points here that I made. So we talked about the difficult custody battle, admission. He assumes both parties will negotiate, are mostly equal, and will take ownership. He does not like the idea of a woman submitting to a man in a relationship. Quote, tyranny or slavery is what he calls it, end quote, when women yield to a man, it seems. So he's of the opinion that men and women are pretty much the same. They're equal, and that they should negotiate amongst themselves for the better outcome of the marriage, the children, blah, 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 all that sort of thing. So everything he's talking about in this series, if you're an alpha male, you're an unplugged alpha male, it's not going to be of any use to you whatsoever. If you're plugged in beta and you want to become a better beta, you might get something out of it, but you're he's just going to march you into a slaughterhouse with what he's given you, because there's no risk mitigation tools whatsoever. And we haven't seen negotiating desire to be a successful way to long-term happiness in relationships, evidence-based at least. Okay. As they say, you simply cannot negotiate desire. It's got to be genuine burning desire. Chapter 3 of my book, I talk about why genuine burning desire matters. He also, another flaw is he also takes no consideration for the modern landscape, the dating landscape, family law, feminism, female promiscuity, and the weak state of men today as well, because the vast majority of men are weak. Like, we know something like a third of men today under the age of 30 or 33 or something like that. I covered this months ago, but most men aren't being intimate. They're not having sex. So if a girl comes along, she's been run through her 20s, she partied, foam cannon party here and there, Ibiza, Vegas, that sort of stuff, whole bunch of guys on her notch counts, and all of a sudden she finds the dutiful accountant or good guy that has a nice corporate gig that pays him well. He's just good enough, and she signs up for that. There's no accounting for the weak state of men or their inability to decipher good women from bad women, because some reasonably hot woman touches his pee-pee and he likes it, and she says, let's get married, I want to have kids, and he says, yeah, let's do that. He's not vetting her at all, and if he goes and watches something that says just man up and don't be a pussy and get married, it's a march into a slaughterhouse. So anyway, I'll keep going through some of these points here, and I'll take some call-ins on today's show. I'll drop the join link. You guys can ask questions on the topic, or if you got something you want to ask, it'll be open. I'll try to make sure I have enough time posted for you guys. And a few of you guys mentioned, actually, by the way, when I posted it in the community tab, that you'd like to see me and Jordan Peterson have this conversation or a debate. And a few years ago, I think I've messaged him at least twice to come on to my Plain Win podcast, or even my Before the Train Wreck, before I renamed it the Unplugged Alpha, have a talk about his expertise, and he just ignored it. So the invite's open. He never took me up on it. I did have a conversation with what's his name from Daily Wire, Andrew Klavan. They had a segment they were doing on marriage or divorce. It was about a year ago. You can find it on Andrew Klavan's channel. Maybe search for Andrew Klavan and Richard Cooper in the YouTube search bar, and you'll probably see it. But we had a pleasant, 20-minute conversation about the concept of long-term relationships, and specifically marriage and divorce. We're obviously on different sides of the topic, but it was a productive conversation. You know, there was people that got something out of that. Anyway, hey guys, I really hope that you enjoyed that short clip. If you did, consider supporting the creation of content by checking out my supplement line. Pinned in the top comment below of this video in the comments, there's a link to the unpluggedalpha.com/shop. When you click through, you'll be able to land over here, and the entire lineup is broken down by category that it performs best in: estrogen metabolism, fat burning, your foundational essentials for health, immune health, performance, and testosterone support. If you check out with coupon code ALPHA10, you'll get 10% off on your first order. There's also the option to use the subscribe and save model, where regular shipments will be sent over to you on a regular basis, and that gives you a little bit of a discount, and your supplement facts are always broken down over here. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys have an awesome day. And again, check out that link. It's pinned in the top comment below in this video. Peace out.